So could you tell our viewers a little bit about what's the difference between, psychologist as to what they do and the psychiatrist?
A psychologist is someone who does talk therapy that involves talking to a person who has mental health problems, whilst a psychiatrist is someone who prescribes medicines for the person who does have that mental health problem. So there is quite a big difference in it, but they both are involved in the psychology field.
So do you think, I'm sure the friends around you must have mentioned, I'm stressed. But do you think that is really stress, or what's your definition of stress?
So definitely, I think the word depressed or stressed is overused so much because depression is actually a mental health disorder. It's not a word that should be thrown around like it's nothing.
Have you ever come across anyone who, of your age, has experienced anxiety, depression?
So I do have a friend that actually suffers from depression, and it does take a big toll on her, both on her social life and how it affects her school and her grades.
Parents use social media. The millennials use social media more than Gen Zs.
False.
Sure? So no one from your family is addicted to it yet.
No,
that's why you're saying that?
I'd say that's wrong. I believe Gen Zs use social media more. Or they're on social media more.
Next one. Gen Zs hate 9-to-5 jobs.
True.
All right, so they hate jobs. So what are they planning to do? Hi all, welcome back to Active Kids Gen Zs, an exclusive podcast by the children for the children. I know it's been a while, but today's episode is going to be worth the wait. We have an incredibly talented guest. Yes, let me tell you a little bit about her. She joined Active Kids back in 2021, and since then, I've seen her metamorphosize from a little cocoon to a beautiful butterfly. Just like butterflies have those tiny color shades in them, it's the same way she has multitude of talents. She is an active member at a drama club at her school. She's a mesmerizing speaker and a powerful story writer. She's a hardcore fan of psychology, and to be specific, criminal psychology. When she is not studying, she can be found reading, cycling, or playing cricket. Let's welcome Falak Shabanali.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi Falak, I'm so pleased that we're doing this together.
I know. It's been a long time since I've ever come up on Active Kids again.
Absolutely, welcome back.
Thank you.
So Falak, tell us your story. Where did you grow up? A little bit about your background and where are you living currently?
Okay, so I was born in Mumbai and I shifted to Dubai when I was only 3 months old. I have one brother and both my parents are from Mumbai as well. I go to the Westchester School, Jebel Ali, and I'm currently in year 11. So I am 15 years old. And I live in an area called Rimram, which is kind of at the corner of Dubai. So it's secluded from the main Dubai. But I do enjoy living a bit far from Dubai. It's very cozy. It's a good community.
Great. Falak, I'm specifically very interested. You are on the podcast as we are going to talk about mental health. Also, there is a very deep connection with what you are studying and learning at school, which is psychology. So could you tell our viewers a little bit about what's the difference between, psychologist as to what they do and the psychiatrist?
A psychologist is someone who does talk therapy that involves talking to a person who has mental health problems, whilst a psychiatrist is someone who prescribes medicines for the person who does have that mental health problem. So there is quite a big difference in it, but they both are involved in the psychology field.
Right. So they have to work together as a team.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So how did you get interested in psychology and especially criminal psychology?
So I've always had the interest of psychology, but criminal psychology happened after I read a few books by James Patterson, and it's fueled my interest in criminal psychology, and that's what I wanted to pursue as a career path as well. And I find it really interesting to delve into the minds of criminals, and that also linked with psychology as well.
Falak, since this podcast aims to help the Gen Z population, we would like to know, how do Gen Zs interpret mental health? What's that, the factor that you know that it affects you mentally? Are you guys aware of mental health as a general thing?
So we're living in something that we call a digital world that Gen Zs thrive on. And I believe that Gen Zs, especially being one, we find it comforting in talking to people on social media about mental health, as there is more awareness now more than ever on mental health, and there's open discussions on social media about mental health as well.
So, to say that, do you think social media is helping you all to delve deeper into mental health? Because a lot of studies that have been conducted say that Gen Zs are the most depressed and anxious generation.
They call social media a double-edged sword. About 13% of 12 to 17-year-olds suffer from some type of mental health issue that has been caused by social media. So there are both benefits and disadvantages to being on social media. Social media is a place where people can connect from all around the world and share their own feelings, and can also help others that are feeling low, but it does have its own disadvantages. People go through cyberbullying on social media, and it can take a big toll on their mental health as well.
Well, I agree with you to a lot extent when you said that, yes, this generation is quite aware. But there are also pros and cons to everything. So just like social media, as you touch on this very relevant point very early on in our discussion, I would like to know, how do Gen Zs tackle the pressure that they go through in social media? Positives, yes, we know. If you know how to, get the best out of something, you will get it done smartly. But there are a lot of people who are getting addiction, who do not have the self-control of, maintaining their time, themselves to be away from social media. So how do you think the Gen Z population looks at it?
So I believe that we should always balance our social life as well as our online life. So when I feel that I get really addicted to social media, I try to go away from it and do hobbies that I prefer that does not involve social media. For example, I like reading a lot. So if I feel that my eyes are being strained from being on social media for so long, I try to read a few pages of a book, or do hobbies that I like that do not involve social media to remove myself from that toxicity on social media.
So you agree that there is a lot of toxicity, as you quoted just now, that social media, victimizes the children especially. But do you think the Gen Zs are more involved in social media and, scrolling and reels and shorts? Or do you think even the millennials are somewhere getting excited and attracted to the so-called social media tribe?
Yeah, of course, for millennials, it's a new thing. They're not very new to it. Maybe for the last 10 years, they've been on social media. But I feel that Gen Zs are more involved in social media. It's their way of coping with stuff when they don't feel like going outside, maybe if they have anxiety. And being online can solve lots of problems as well for them, as they're basically behind the screen. They're not really talking to anyone in person, and it can cause a lot of problems as well. So I believe that millennials also use social media, but Gen Zs are more prominently on social media.
Falak, this is a very interesting topic of mental health that everyone's talking about. It's like a buzzword. It's all about self-care and self-love. While we were growing up, we didn't have the awareness that the Gen Zs have right now about social media, how we should take care of ourselves, how we should spend time with ourselves. But do you think children, for any kind of stress, they say, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm depressed? Do you think this buzzword has become, it's used so often by kids that it's becoming normal to say, oh, I'm stressed, but it's actually not. It's deeper than what we just say. So do you think, I'm sure the friends around you must have mentioned, oh, I'm stressed, but do you think that is really stress, or what's your definition of stress?
So definitely, I think the word depressed or stressed is overused so much because depression is actually a mental health disorder. It's not a word that should be thrown around like it's nothing. I mean, if example, you're just feeling sad one day and you say, oh, I am depressed, that's not actually depression. And I feel that there should be more awareness on it to understand what depression actually is.
Then what is depression, Falak?
So according to the ICD, depression is characterized by a prolonged period of sadness for up to 2 weeks with symptoms like not being able to eat properly or poor appetite, poor sleep, feelings of extreme guilt, or it can also be called unipolar depression, where you feel happy and you immediately feel sad. So this, for a prolonged amount of time, is called depression. And there's many forms of depression as well that can affect people around the world.
Have you ever experienced being anxious at any point of time? Tell me a story.
So I have experienced anxiety, especially because I am a student and I'm still, growing up and finding out more about the world. And one time when I felt really anxious was when I had this competition in school. And I know how to handle anxiety, like taking breaths or just calming myself down. But this one time I felt really, really anxious. And it was my turn to go on stage and start talking in front of a large crowd. And my mind was like going through like a million thoughts. My hands were really sweaty. But as soon as I went on stage, it was like the more words that came out, the more calm I felt. And after I finished the speech, I was like, why was I worrying so much? It was not such a big deal to me. And I feel that anxiety can affect everyone to some extent, but we should not characterize it as anxiety. Maybe it's just feeling a little bit stressed or feeling a little bit scared, maybe.
That's true. I know a lot of kids, they experience the same thing especially when it comes to public speaking.
Correct, yeah.
As it affects more than 75% of population worldwide. Glossophobia, as you know, is the fear of speaking.
Yes.
That's something. Again, we won't term it as anxiety, like you rightly said.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a sort of a process that your mind is taking to prepare yourself for something new, something exciting that you're going to do. And of course, when it is going to be intense, that's something which is anxiety. Mm-hmm. Have you ever come across anyone who of your age has experienced anxiety, depression, and how do you think the society or the community comes together to support that person? It could be school, it could be family, it could be friends, anyone, or perhaps read about it or something.
So I do have a friend that actually suffers from depression, and it does take a big toll on her, both on her social life and how it affects her school and her grades. She does do counseling, but it is taking a big toll because she has other problems as well in her life.
How do you know, as someone, as an onlooker, that she's going through depression?
She's shown many signs of depression as well. For example, she has many moods or many times where she's
mood swings that she experiences often.
Mood swings. She has a poor appetite. Sometimes she eats a lot, and sometimes she goes maybe days without eating. And it is very concerning to see from a friend perspective that she's going through this. And sometimes I feel like I cannot help her, and it just makes me more sad as well. But she does go for counseling, which is helping her a lot. But I feel that she has some more time until she can actually recover.
Yeah, you talked about therapy and counseling. These were the stigmas, which were the taboo words, which we normally, the millennials, always felt that this is not the right word to use, or we shouldn't be revealing to everyone that yes, something is wrong with me. I'm taking a therapy. I'm mentally ill. But what I love about this population is the openness. The way you guys embrace how the whole world is changing and how you guys have been so open in accepting that yes, if we are ill, we are sick, just like you have cold, you take a medicine. If you have a mind, you will have stress, right? And the openness with which the Gen Z population comes up with. So you talked about your friend and you said, well, I don't know what to do. I wanted to help her. What do you think the society, let's talk about school for that matter. As you said, she used to come to school and feel low and sad all the time. How do you think schools can help cope up children with the stress? Because stress is going to be there. We have to learn the mechanism and the coping skills to help each other. So how do you think the schools are preparing children to have a mentally stable life?
So specifically in my school, we have days where we have mental health days, and we're allowed to openly talk about our mental health. It's not something that's stigmatized in our school. We have a student counselor, obviously, which we can go and talk to anytime we have a problem. Yeah. We have our heads that are also really open about it. They're not shied away. And I feel like that's also a big problem now in society, where millennials specifically say that we should not openly talk about mental health, or depression is like they call it a cuss word or something, but it's actually not. It's so normalized to throw this word around when it's a really specific and when it's a really serious term. And because we are Gen Zs, now we truly understand the meaning of this word and how deeply it can affect someone who is going through this kind of problem, like my friend that I said.
So if you could share some techniques with the people who are watching our podcast today, what do you think? If you have someone, who is not well, you want to help them, what are the 3 things that you could share with people around to help their friend who is going through depression?
So, of course, number 1 is to always tell them that you will be supportive for them. Is to always comfort them in their problems or whatever they're going through. You should be there for them. That is the number 1 thing you should do. I believe number 2 should offer them help or ways that they can cope for this. For example, offer them to, visit someone who is professional. If you don't know how to cope with it, obviously tell them to go visit a therapist to talk about their problems, or a psychiatrist to prescribe them some medicines to be able to cope with this. And obviously, maybe do some activities that will improve their mood. For example, if they like playing games or something, you should play games with them to uplift their mood, so that they feel happy for a prolonged time and that they're not stuck in that kind of depressive state for too long. And then it would get to them and they feel really sad over and over again.
Right. Recently I was watching this podcast and the psychologist shared a very, very simple advice for all of us who, if we have someone in our family or friend circle going through depression. She says that ask them, do you want me to listen to you or do you want advice? Because a lot of us, the moment we see someone's needing help, we get started with things that you can do, blah, 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 start this, start that. But sometimes they just want you to listen
be,
to them.
Yeah, exactly. Be a little bit alone or secluded.
Right. Or they just want to spend time with you and listen to what they are going through. Listening is something that's going to build empathy and connection. That's something which in this digital world, I think it's getting lesser and lesser because of the retention that we have now. It's very short.
Yeah.
So she stresses on the importance of listening. She stresses the importance of how when someone's going through any issues like this, give them a listening ear and ask them, do you want an advice or do you want me to just listen to you? And of course, when, like you said, seek professional help. Guide them towards professionals who can help and support them. We understand how important is having a support system, and family is our support system too. A child of your age articulating mental health challenges, traumas, anxieties so well and so beautifully. I'm very interested to know how does your family build those systems at home that helps you to learn more about or be more stable, be more mentally strong in dealing with these pressures or in coping up with this pressure. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I had this one time in school, it happened a few years ago, where this boy who I didn't like. He was really annoying to me. And he would pick on the way I talked or the way I looked or stuff like that, or specifically my hijab as well, which I take pride in wearing my hijab, and I did not take that very nicely. And I felt really overwhelmed when he said those kind of words, and it hurt me a lot. So my parents, when they found out that this happened, they lent a listening hand. They said, okay, I listened to you. You talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And obviously they took action as well. They talked to my teacher and they said, please tell this boy not to speak stuff like this again, because I believe that words matter a lot. When someone makes a joke, maybe it can be harmless, maybe
Right.
it could take a toll on that person a lot. And
Right.
we should always be careful in what we say to another person, because it might affect them mentally as well.
Right. So you're trying to say that, yes, you have a support system or, wherein you can go and tell them what you're feeling like.
Yes.
Right. And don't you think that's something that helps us in a lot of ways to deal with, to fall back on when we need them? Right. Because in a lot of families that I know, parents aren't open to this. I mean, they always think that, no, it must be your fault. Or why don't you ignore it? A lot of moms, they're like, you're not like this, right? Just forget it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
good. But don't you think there could be a lot of underlying concerns that could lead if you ignore or neglect a problem like this, which could affect the child's self-esteem in the long run?
Yeah, exactly. So families are supposed to be the first point of help whenever you have a problem. Maybe your friends might not be able to be free, or someone who, like for example, your therapist maybe is not free. Your family will always be there for you, and it's very, very important that your family listens to the problems that you have, whether it be in school, whether it be online, or it's just something you want to talk about. They should always listen to what you have to say.
So Falak, we have touched upon anxiety, the negative impact of social media. I would like to know a little bit about how is peer pressure. We talk a lot about, there's peer pressure, and as you done in this crucial phase of life, do you think peer pressure has ever impacted you or affected you?
Personally, peer pressure hasn't affected me much. I take a strong stance whenever I have a motivation. I stick to it. I don't let others affect my opinion. But peer pressure is a big thing in our society now. I feel that people get so influenced easily, and it can shift someone's opinion widely, and it's not a good thing. That you should have a strong stance on what you believe and how you think. Peer pressure can make you do stuff that you do not want to do, or do stuff that you are morally against of. In fact, we should always stand strong with what we have to say, I believe.
So how do you think, a child who's confident and well aware about this would really decide on, yeah, this is right for me and this is wrong for me. But how do you think someone who is getting victimized of these things and is difficult to make a choice, what do you think people should, where should we start when we have to make a choice about, okay, my friend says this is right, but I know this is wrong. I shouldn't get influenced with what my friend tells me to do. So how do you think, where does making choice, where does it start from?
So whenever I have to make a choice, maybe I might feel peer pressure to do it.
Yeah.
I always think of, do I really want this? Is it morally right in my own beliefs? Or would it harm someone if I do this action, or if I speak about this thing? Is it going to hurt someone's feelings, or is it going to hurt maybe my own feelings? That's always what I think of whenever I make a decision, and I stand strong with whatever I have to say, actually.
So you mean it's all about what are your belief systems?
Right.
And it starts from there.
Yeah.
And if at all we want to consult someone, who do you think would be the right person if you're getting, you are under pressure and you feel it's wrong, but you cannot decide it. Who do you think could be that person to turn and talk to at the Gen Zs? Who do you think you turn and talk to the first whenever you have such concerns?
Right. So I wouldn't feel so implied to go and talk to maybe my parents, for example. Maybe I feel that they might not understand what I'm going through. So obviously I would talk to my friends in such a Gen Z kind of world. I feel that your friends are more connected with you and might have similar viewpoints on situations. So they could probably advise me on something I have a little faulty decision on. And I can always rely on them if I have a problem ever.
You've touched on the point that why wouldn't consult my parents? And a lot of children that I know say the same thing, like you said, right? Even my own daughter feels that my friend should be the first point of contact and not my parents because they won't understand.
Yeah.
Right? Do you really feel that we millennials won't understand the pressures that you go through? Because the insecurities are the same. The pure pressure that we had during our time is the same. It's just that we used to do it with our close-knit friends. The group was small, but now there are platforms to express yourself. So of course the platforms have changed, but the insecurities are the same. So don't you think we or millennials would understand what Gen Zs go through, and they have the tools, they have equipped with tools to help you rather than a friend of the same age?
Of course, so I'm not against the fact that we shouldn't go to our parents for a problem, but I feel like in such a digital world, there are so many people you can talk to online as well if you do have a problem that would probably share similar characteristics or similar beliefs as you. I feel that our parents growing up had completely different beliefs compared to now with with the world that's changing so much and there's so many different beliefs that's going on. Maybe our parents' beliefs might not align with our modern day beliefs, and that social media is a tool that we can use to connect with so many people around the world and share our own beliefs, particularly if they're our age or if they're going through something we are also going through that our parents might not be going through or our friends might not be going through. We can always consult with someone online as well. But there are also disadvantages to it. For example, maybe cyberbullying, or we might share too much information and it might backfire at us as well.
Right. So can we say that families should be more open to the fact that, yes, there are two different generations living together. They have their own perspectives towards life and they have their own struggles and challenges. But I slightly disagree with you on the point that, yes, friends online would be more trustworthy than someone who you live with, who knows your history, who knows what's best for you, rather than trusting someone online. Because, of course, it's short-lived, it's short-term, right? What is right, as you rightly talked about belief systems, in my opinion, I think Gen Z should be aware that, yes, we do have problems, we do have concerns that I should share with someone who I trust first. It could be a friend, no doubt about it. But sharing the information with someone online,
it's worse. Yes,
it's
of
worse.
course.
It's worse. I don't think this would be the right thing to do, because it's going to be counterintuitive if you do that.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, that's my opinion. So opening up to parents, I think that's the first thing that
it's better.
Children should do, even though our perspectives would be different.
Yeah.
As parents, we're coming from a different world. We this is all new to us. We are not coming with a manual to be a parent, how to be a good parent. So I tell a lot of children who I teach that, yes, certainly your parents may not completely align to what you say, because we may agree and we may disagree. But yes, there is always love and respect, and you'll always get unconditional love and respect from your family. So if at all any child going through such issues and trauma and any kind of peer pressure, I think parents should be the first people to know,
always,
because they would be able to address it in the right manner.
And I feel that parents also have the capabilities to, I don't know, help you, I guess, compared to like
Yes.
online friends. They have more, they have access to maybe like therapy that you can go to, or someone that is more professional that you can always talk to,
That's true.
compared to online friends. And of course, like you said, online friends are not always trustworthy. They can always backfire at you. They can always be someone who doesn't actually want the better good for you. So parents, though they're millennials, will always be there for you and always
Right.
give you proper advice, because they've been through this stuff, their whole life. They're more experienced, and will always support you through that problem.
We may not be your friends,
Yeah.
but certainly we will be able to help you with the best
course.
information that we have.
Yeah.
The best interest of every child. Falak, I recently read an interesting research online that said that WHO has declared loneliness as a pandemic. And to a larger extent, a lot of us are lonely. Even a lot of times I have experienced loneliness. As a matter of fact, we're living in a place where we are away from our country, away from our family members, our close-knit family members, of course. That certainly impacts us in a lot,
Right.
intensely. Do you guys also have experienced, have you experienced loneliness as well? And for the fact that we are living in Dubai, away from our country, away from our close-knit family members, and how do you tackle that?
So I agree with what you said, that loneliness is basically a pandemic in such a global world where there's so many different nationalities that we're meeting every day. And as someone who has, though lived in Dubai all my life, I do somewhat miss my hometown as well. And there can always be problems living in Dubai, living far from your home, especially for someone who's maybe moving all the time, shifting countries. There can always be maybe language barriers. They have problem communicating and making new friends with people in their country, in their new country. There's always a racial stigma. Maybe there can always be racism towards this, a particular maybe ethnic group or something that can take a toll on that child's mental health as well. But due to the increase in social media, there's so many ways that you can still be in contact with people at home as well. You can talk through maybe different chat rooms or something to keep in contact and keep that bond still growing.
Right. How do you stay connected with your family around, and how often do you connect with them? Or is it always that we do a video call, or is there any other, happy or fun thing that you do that kind of changes how you think, and it puts you in a happy state? I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because I remember attending a session where the speaker said that he sends a video message to his family member whenever there's a birthday, anniversary, instead of just forwarding a picture or a GIF and all of that. So he sends a video message of 30 seconds saying that, oh, how much you mean to me, and I'm grateful to have a friend like you, or I love you, mom, and those kind of acts really help.
Yes.
In eliminating the loneliness that we go through some time or the other. So how is there anything that you do or you advise people should do?
So I believe that we should always be in contact with our family members in a different country. And specifically for me, I'm always talking to my grandparents in India. I love to keep in contact with them because it's just, even though there's a big age difference, they can always advise me on so many different things because they're more experienced than me and they've been through all of this struggles that I've been through. And though I only get to visit India maybe once a year or once in 2 years, being in contact online and video calling them every day is very important to you don't know what might happen the next day, and you should always be in contact with them. You should always talk to them, ask them how they are, update them on your day or whatever is happening in your country.
We heard a lot about work-life balance. So what is the study life balance that you could advise us? What is your study life balance?
Okay,
And
so
is it important?
yeah. Of course, study life balance is very important to preventing getting burnt out so often. And especially for me, I have my board exams in just a few months, maybe 8 months. And it's getting pretty hectic to manage my study life and then being active maybe in my sports or my social life as well, or hanging out with my friends or talking to my family. So it is getting a bit difficult, but I always try to find time to give myself a break, probably take a nap in between my study routines, or read a book maybe to just recharge.
Yeah.
And it's very important to preventing getting burnt out or anything.
Yeah. So taking frequent breaks is one
Yes,
strategy
yes.
that you would advise. Give me one more strategy that helps in study life balance.
Okay, so I've seen that this new thing where people just stay up late. Like they don't study in the day and they just stay up till like 1 or 2 in the morning studying. And then example, they have an exam in the morning and they're up at 7 a.m. Like they only got 5 hours of sleep. And personally, I have to run on 8 hours of sleep. My mind will not work without 8 hours. And sleep is very, very important. It recharges your mind for the next day, and sleeping can help retain information overnight.
Right.
So it's like it's very important to sleep, especially after studying. So
What's your sleep routine?
So as soon as I come home from school, I maybe eat a little bit, get changed or whatever, and I start studying. So that throughout the day I'm studying, and then at least by 11 or 10 in the night I am asleep, and then I get those good 8 hours of sleep. And in the morning I just go through my notes again. And I've seen that this works much, much better than sleeping at 2 or 3 in the morning and then waking up and doing the exams. Then I'm just like, what's happening? Like my mind did not get time to rest or anything. And it's very, very bad cognitively to sleep so late in the night, especially after 10 p.m. If you're after 10 p.m. if you're being awake every single day, that will literally increase your chances of death quicker. And it's very important. You should always get sleep on time, 8 hours at least.
You're right. You know, there is some interesting toolkit, a psychological toolkit that is being talked about, and there are about 5-6 things that should be in the toolkit, okay, for everyone. So I'll tell you a few things, and then I'd like you to tell us what's your toolkit, okay? What would you like to put in your toolkit? So the few things that that is essential, at least for me, would be the first one would be sleep. Certainly, of course. The second is the diet and nutrition, exercise, sun, socialize. That's also very important. And finally, it's me time. You need time for yourself, where you recharge. You try and do things that makes you really happy, makes your soul happy.
Right. Yeah.
These are my essentials. What is your toolkit?
So, of course, I include everything in your toolkit, but what's something that helps me recharge a lot is when I read a book or I talk to a friend maybe about whatever I'm going through. Reading a book genuinely recharges me, even if it's just 5 pages or 10 pages, or I put away time, maybe 15 minutes a day to start reading, because it cognitively improves your brain and it helps you recharge for the next time you want to study. And I would include also physical activity, like you said. I like cycling as well. So I try to just take a break and go out in the nature and just breathe. I take a break from, everything that's happening in this world. It's a good way to just detach for some time.
We've come to the end of the podcast, and I'm not going to let you go like this. We have a ritual of having a game in our class.
Yes.
I'm sure you remember.
Yes.
Right? So we're going to have a quick round of true and false question. Okay. I'm going to be telling you 10 statements. You're going to be telling me, is it a true statement or a false statement? You can support it with a context if you want to add something more to it and you agree or disagree to it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so let's start. And if she wins, we are going to give her something. And if she doesn't, then she gets nothing. Okay? Okay, so let's start with the first question. Okay, so it's true and false, all right? And you can't take too long to think. The first one, Gen Zs believe in working smart and not hard.
True.
Sure. So they don't like to work hard.
They don't. that comes from a Gen Z.
That's a threat.
No, but working smarter is much better than spending hours studying. You can spend 1 hour studying.
How can hard work be replaced by smart working? Don't you think hard work is also essential?
Doing active recall and making flashcards, that saves so much of my time rather than having to just revise the whole content. Like that, active recall is much better than passive recall, I guess, when studying. So I agree, that's
true. Okay, let's go to the second one. Parents use social media. The millennials use social media more than Gen Zs.
False.
Sure. So no one from your family is addicted to it yet.
No,
That's why you're saying that?
I'd say that's wrong. I believe Gen Zs use social media more. Or they're on social media more.
All right. In fact, there's a different opinion altogether. A recent study says that an older population is more on social media than the Gen Zs. They're slightly higher up than you guys. Yeah, your grandmother,
Right.
the Gen X, they are more influenced by social media than the Gen.
Of course, there's so many reasons for that. We have so much to balance in our life as well, maybe school or work or stuff like that. And then compared to like maybe the Gen X, like you said, they don't really have much to do at home, maybe, so they're more on social media.
Absolutely. Right. Next one. Gen Zs hate 9-to-5 jobs.
True.
All right, so they hate jobs. So what are they planning to do?
Personally, I would never want to do a 9-to-5. Maybe do something that's more flexible. I get more breaks in between. And I'm not working like so many hours a day. I would not feel inclined to do something like that.
Okay, so that's going to give you less money as well. Will that be okay? Because working for less, it will give you less income as well. So what's your perspective? Will that be okay? Or is mental health more important? You're getting breaks, you're
right. That's so much more important than having to spend so many hours working. Though I get a good pay working for so long, I would not want to sacrifice that for my mental health, I believe.
Wow. Yeah. Next one. Gen Zs love traditional career paths as there is more job security. Like being a doctor, engineer. Do you think Gen Zs are more... They'll go towards the traditional career path and not with something where, there'll be less job security.
Yeah, so job security is very important to me too. But I would not want to do such a mundane task. I believe that with social media becoming so prominent in our society, there's going to be so many jobs that will be replaced by, for example, AI or robots.
Right.
And there's so many new jobs like social media managing that you don't have to spend 9-to-5 on, and you get good pay with that as well.
Absolutely.
So I think traditional tasks will be replaced by robots, and there's so many new jobs that are coming into society now. Right, so yeah.
The next one, sixth one. Gen Zs find it hard to express their love to the loved ones.
False.
Okay.
False.
You sure?
Yeah.
So they know that they have to express their love to their mom, their dad.
Right. I think we're better. I think we're better at expressing love compared to.
I agree with you.
We're more open about it now.
Right.
And in the past, it was very stigmatized. You shouldn't talk about your feelings, or it's not good to talk about your feelings. Now it's open.
That's right. I remember we were not allowed to. I still have that kind of a feeling when I have to hug my mom. I'm like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Never done that.
Yeah,
And
of course.
we always knew that, okay, there has to be a distance when it comes to parents and a child. But now I see that it's changing a lot.
Yeah.
Next one. Gen Zs find reading boring.
True. But I like reading. It is varying opinions.
Right. Next one. Gen Zs find writing interesting. Do you think they
mean typing or writing?
Writing. Do you think they find writing
Interesting? Yes.
Sure. You're talking about the large majority of...
To large majority? Then no, I'd say false. Yeah.
And who to be blamed for that?
I blame social media for that as well. We're so used to just reading stuff online rather than being creative and writing stuff on our own
stuff.
And obviously ChatGPT, like everyone uses it these days. and we're so used to using ChatGPT for essays. Right. So we just don't type, at least. I love writing though.
Right. The second last question. Gen Zs lack discipline.
True.
Sure.
Yes.
Give me an example.
I find that I waste, when I set a study schedule, for example, I end up just going on social media and then my time is just wasted. I find that happens to many people nowadays. They just get lost in social media and then their time is gone. Their schedule is, broken apart. So
who do you think is most disciplined at your house?
I'd say maybe my mom. She knows when to take a social media pause and then complete her work as well.
Right. Right. And the last question: Gen Zs are more creative than millennials.
True.
Sure. How?
I feel like because of this social media change, we're more inclined to have different ideas and different perspectives. Whilst in the past, like you mentioned previously, there's such mundane tasks like maybe being a doctor or being an engineer that you wouldn't find common nowadays. Well, with the increase in AI, and people are becoming more creative. You see different like I was talking about ChatGPT. There's different ways of being online, and there's different stuff that you can do online that Gen Zs have come up with, and I think that we're more creative compared to the millennials.
All right. Great. I think I'm going to give Falak the thing that I have for her, because she did an exceptionally great job at today's podcast. Even though it was her first podcast, we saw great confidence and a lot of takeaways from these conversations indeed. So thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
This is going to be a very memorable experience for me to have you here.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.